When it comes to redistricting, a lot of people think of one word, a word synonymous with the crooked dealings and corruption that a lot of Americans think of when they think of politics. That word is gerrymander. To gerrymander effectively is to give yourself an insurmountable advantage over the other party by drawing political districts that overwhelmingly favor your side. We get the name from Elbridge Gerry, an early governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who presided over some mischievous mapmaking. But poor Elbridge Gerry might not deserve to be remembered by history for his association with dirty politics. Instead, we should probably call the practice Henrymandering, after a far more famous founding father. At the birth of the nation, this great debate raged between factions who called themselves the Federalists, who wanted to see a strong centralized government, and the Anti-Federalists, opposed to ratifying the Constitution to give more power to the states. Virginia held its great debate over whether to ratify the new Constitution in the summer of 1788. Arguing the Federalist side was James Madison, the man who had laid out the framework of the Constitution the year before in Philadelphia. His great rival was Patrick Henry, the staunch Anti-Federalist. They really didn't like each other. That summer in Richmond, Madison's Federalists carried the day. The delegates voted 89 to 79 to ratify the Constitution. But Henry wasn't through scheming. After the convention, Henry went back to his day job running the Virginia General Assembly, where he basically ran the place like a boss. So when Madison decided to run for one of Virginia's 2 seats in the US Senate, Henry wasn't having it. In those days, the state legislature was responsible for electing senators, and Henry used his control to elect 2 of his allies, Richard Henry Lee and William Grayson. Madison finished 3rd. If Madison wanted a formal role in Congress, he'd have to run for a seat in the US House of Representatives. Henry was ready to punish Madison once again. Back then, no one had the data or modern tools that mapmakers have today, and it wouldn't have really mattered if they did. The only voters eligible to cast a ballot were white landowning men, not exactly the picture of diversity. But Henry did have one bit of electoral vote history he could use to his advantage: that earlier vote over ratifying the Constitution. Henry's Anti-Federalist majority in Richmond drew Madison's mansion at Montpelier in Orange County into a district with 7 other counties, 5 of which had sent Anti-Federalist delegations to the ratification convention. The 2 most powerful political bosses in the district were both rabid Anti-Federalists. Madison's allies thought he was in a no-win situation. Henry had even gone so far as to recruit a promising young candidate to challenge Madison, a 30-year-old veteran of the Continental Army who lived in the vote-rich Spotsylvania County by the name of James Monroe. Elections to that first Congress were to be held in February of 1789, the dead of the Virginia winter. Madison and Monroe set out barnstorming all around the district, giving speeches on the steps of county courthouses and writing letters to local papers laying out their visions for the new country. Madison faced a lot of criticism for a perception that he was unwilling to amend or improve the Constitution that he had written. So he wrote a letter pledging to be more open to future amendments. When the votes came in, it turned out Henry had miscalculated. Madison won huge in his home Orange County. He kept Monroe's margins smaller in Spotsylvania, and he won majorities in 4 of the 8 counties. At the end of the day, Madison carried 57% of the vote. The fact that Henry had tried to defeat Madison has kind of shaped the country we live in today. Madison had to campaign to win his seat, something he saw as tawdry and beneath him. Madison served 4 terms in Congress before accepting Thomas Jefferson's nomination to serve as Secretary of State, and then succeeding Jefferson to become the nation's 4th president. But his career almost ran into Patrick Henry's brick wall. And maybe that's why we should reconsider the name of that nefarious practice of drawing districts that would solely advantage your side.